The little girl swallowed deeply and then succinctly explained, "When I ran to you, I did so to warn you that you were in the presence of a deserter. You were in the presence of a yellow eye. Think back." The P.O. wife thought back as the little girl went on to convey her insights. "He met you on the porch when you welcomed him. He found you quite beautiful. It was then you let your guard down. When he left the farm, he looked back twice to be sure what he saw. He saw a slave, a beautiful mahogany woman holding hands with the P.O., who's a white man. Think back. When you gave him the water, did he seem different?" "Why, yes. Yes, he was. It was as if he was seeing a ghost and could not process the loving, gentle kiss the P.O. bestowed on him." She screamed. When the family heard this, they all went inside. P.O. called out to his wife. She calmed herself. She and the little girl exited the cool house. She smiled at her husband. "I thought I saw a snake in the cool house, but whatever it was, the little girl chased it away with a sack. I'm so tired. I have to lay down. Please don't disturb me, love. I hope you understand. Hannah, the house slave, will tend to you and the kids this evening." She then kissed her husband gently on the cheek and was soon in bed resting. Hannah cast a spell that left a figure that looked like the P.O.'s wife in bed and then departed the room. Hannah was livid. Why didn't either of us realize who he was? They both struggled with how they failed to immediately catch on to the subtle signs that their guest had special abilities and powers. It bothered her that they didn't readily realize that he was a deserter. "My trusty friend, I must learn if this yellow eye is a friend or foe. As we now know, he can see who we are. Be clever, be quick, be quiet and pick. Pick a form to travel into town and watch his every move. I will see what you see." Just like that, and without any further clarification or instruction, the cat was off to survey Dr. Hart. He left Hannah's presence quickly. While Dr. Hart did not hide his presence, he naturally, fully, and unwittingly shielded his thoughts. The family stayed inside for the rest of the day for fear that they would upset the P.O.'s wife. The family knew and respected her. They were not deserters, but they walked a fine line with her. The P.O.'s wife was always there for them, but occasionally had bouts with anger. It was as if she was two separate people. They knew to avoid anything that would further upset her. Many years earlier, before Dr. Hart grew into an adult and medicine chose him as purveyor, he was just an ordinary kid named Douglas who enjoyed playing with his older brother Gene. He was an obedient and caring young boy. His mother, Mrs. Hartford, was a doting parent and wife to her two boys and her husband, who was a banker. One day, while in town with his mother and brother, they were shopping for a gift for their father. With their shopping complete, Mrs. Hartford took Gene and Douglas to the drugstore to buy their choice of a piece of candy or ice cream. The boys were elated. They looked around at the ice cream flavors. They also looked at the various candies. After several minutes of back and forth, Mrs. Hartford told the boys to hurry and choose or risk not having anything. Gene picked one scoop of vanilla ice cream on a cone, and the young future doctor selected saltwater taffy. With treats in hand, the family headed home to surprise Mr. Hart for his birthday. The boys were super excited for their father's return. Mrs. Hartford was also anxious. She wanted everything to be perfect. At exactly 6 p.m., Mr. Hartford arrived home from a hard day's work at the bank. As the door swung open, the boys and Mrs. Hartford yelled, "Surprise! Surprise! Happy birthday!" Banker Hartford smiled and hugged each of them. Mrs. Hartford gave her husband their combined gift, and Mr. Hartford was astonished. "Dear boys, I don't know what to say. It's beautiful. It's far too expensive for me." Gene spoke first. "Dad, do you love it?" Like a parrot, Douglas echoed Gene's inquiry. "Yeah, do you love it?" "I do." Mrs. Hartford continued, "We are so happy that you do, honey." The town that the Douglas family lived in was unlike larger, more established cities. The banking industry had not taken off so quickly and was not yet thriving. Over the past few years, there were very few new accounts created, and trust in the banking industry was low. People were skeptical and instead held onto their money at home. The banker had been working hard to draw up new business. He prayed every day for a culture shift that would make his bank profitable as it was in the previous city where he sold his share at a handsome price so he could strike out on his own. Lately, strikeout was all he felt he was doing. Mrs. Hartford spent as if the banking business was thriving. She had formal gatherings at the house, spent loosely on the boys and herself. In her defense, Mr. Hartford had not shared with her all of his stresses, fears, and business struggles because he made quite a profit from selling his shares from the previous bank. He and the family could have lived moderately for 6 more months or 1 to 2 more years if they were frugal, more cognizant, and careful in their spending. One reason he did not want to tell her was because she was born into a family of status and wealth. Should her father learn of his financial struggles, he would surely loan her money and hold it over her head, and especially Mr. Hartford's head. With the boys asleep and tucked away, Mrs. Hartford cleaned the kitchen and put away all the remaining cooking and dinner items. Mr. Hartford walked behind her and kissed her neck. She blushed and addressed Mr. Hartford. "I only have 2 more dishes to put away. Can you help me? That will speed me up. Or you can have a seat and I'll bring you a drink in a minute or 2. The banker placed another kiss on her neck. "I'll wait in the sitting room." Mr. Hartford started a drink before Mrs. Hartford could even wrap up the kitchen chores. By the time she arrived with her nightcap in hand, he had completed his 3rd straight whiskey. Never having seen him like this, Mrs. Hartford hesitated to give him his 4th drink. Mr. Hartford lovingly gave her a pull at her wrist and asked her to sit next to him. Now at ease again, Mrs. Hartford sat next to him and laughed. He also laughed. "Happy birthday, honey. The boys love you and so do I. I love you 3 too, and thank you." He took the drink and gulped it down. A red flag went off in Mrs. Hartford's mind, but she never quite felt this way in the presence of her husband before, so she suppressed her gut feeling and the rush of sudden anxiety that swept across her. "How was your day?" "Not so good. It hasn't been good for a while, as a matter of fact. We've had no new enrollments in months. I thought by now that the town would feel more comfortable with banking as they did in the previous city. What does this mean? I can't keep the watch, and we will need to cut out all excess expenses until I begin to turn a profit or we risk everything. We can ask Dad for help." The room seemed to suddenly grow icy cold. Why? Why would we do that? Why would we want to do that? Not thinking for a second that she needed to carefully choose her words, Mrs. Hartford provided a response. The response was given without malintent, yet when the words left her lips, they were available for others to interpret and possibly misconstrue. In her many years of marriage to Mr. Hartford, she never had to methodically craft how she spoke with her husband, or ever noticed that he was overly sensitive to what she said to him. By nature, Mrs. Hartford was a soft-spoken, genuine, loyal, and demure lady. Dad has loads of money. If you're having a tough time. Without thinking, the banker gulped the final bit of whiskey, placed the glass down on the wooden coaster embossed with his bank's logo on it, sat up in his chair, casually extended his hand, and choked his wife mid-sentence. He continued to squeeze until she passed out. Jean and Douglas heard a muffled scream or a low yelp and woke up and rushed out of their room. By the time they entered the sitting room, Mr. Hartford had laid his wife down. Their mother was comfortably on the couch with a blanket on top of her, up to her chin. Underneath her neck, he placed a comfy pillow. Feeling confident that she was alive, he looked at the boys and questioned why they were out of bed. "Boys, why are you awake? You should go back to bed. I'll come tuck you in tonight, like Mom normally does." "Oh, thank you for my birthday gift. I love you so much. Now go back to bed." Douglas made an inquiry. "Is Mom okay?" Yeah, she is. She's just tired." Dad, Douglas and I heard a noise. Mom yelled out when I tickled her. She was so tired that she decided to sleep. Now off the bed. Yes, Dad. As if by the sound of an alarm clock, Mrs. Hartford's internal cerebral timepiece went off. It was time for the boys to wake for school. She reached for her neck and gasped for air as she came to. With only a slight memory of what had happened, she assumed she had shared a drink with her husband the night before, and because she so infrequently drank, she must have passed out. She felt sore and tense in her neck and shoulders. She got up off the couch and went to the kitchen to see the time. There was barely enough time to get the boys up, prepare breakfast, and get her husband out of bed. Mrs. Hartford entered the kids' dark bedroom and gently woke them. They kissed her cheeks as they woke. Donald noticed the bruises around her neck. Mom, your neck is black and blue. Immediately realizing the awkward position she was in, and still not fully aware of what had happened or what caused the bruising, Mrs. Hartford quickly responded, Boys, you're going to be late. Go brush your teeth, put on your clothes, and prepare for a quick breakfast. Mrs. Hartford rushed to the bathroom before going down to prepare breakfast. She looked at herself, specifically at her neck in the mirror. She suddenly remembered what took place. She cried into the palms of her hands to prevent a loud outburst. Mrs. Hartford had held her tears and pain in as best she could so that she did not startle the boys or wake Mr. Hartford. Mrs. Hartford quietly went into her room and walked straight to her closet where she found and pulled out a scarf matching her attire. She meticulously placed the scarf so that no portion of the handkerchief or handprint was visible. With the boys clothed and fed, she sent them on their way. School was only a short walk from home for them. It was approaching time for Mr. Hartford to get up and leave, so she gently woke him and got him on his way. Mr. Hartford never acknowledged the incident. He kissed her on her cheek and thanked her for breakfast, and he left. Her body unexpectedly and uncontrollably began to shake at the touch of his lips. Mrs. Hartford was unsure if he remembered what he had did or if he was avoiding discussing it. That afternoon, on his way home from school, Douglas saw a young black girl walking alone. Jean was a bit late and did not walk with Doug because he stayed behind to speak with friends. Douglas asked the girl why she was walking alone. Why are you by yourself? I can if I like. It's just you're not safe. It's not safe for you. The young witch immediately changed from the teenage white boy she projected into an exact likeness of Doug right in front of the boy. No one would ever hurt a nice little white boy. I don't know what you mean. You're a black girl with brown eyes. You mean you can see me as I am? With a slight chuckle in his voice, Doug answered, I'm not sure what you mean, but yes. Follow me. I want to show you something. You aren't afraid, are you? The young witch took on the form of another young white kid so that she was not noticed. Not far from Doug's house, the two of them stopped to talk in a nearby wooded area. Eager to show the boy something fun, she asked him his initials. Without dawdling, she brought forth and created fire with her words and began to carve Douglas's initial into the tree. Wow, what else? Hold my hand and close your eyes. Doug gave her his hand. He felt light, as if he was being held by hundreds of pillows. He also felt the movement of air flow through his hair and around his body. Listen, trust me and open your eyes. Slowly, he opened his eyes. Doug was utterly confused. He saw treetops and branches. He could even see his house from this vantage point. I'm afraid. How did you do this? Put me down. You don't have to be afraid. I safely lifted you, and I can safely return us to the ground. I want to see you again, but I have to be home soon. I saw my brother ahead of me, and I departed before him. Mom will be worried. The young witch lowered them safely to the ground. I'll be around. If you see me, speak to me. You are the only one so far who has talked to me or has even been able to see who I really am. For this reason, I feel safe, and I'm not worried about being hurt. Doug rushed home and made it only minutes behind his older brother. Without being asked, he started on his chores and completed them. Douglas wanted his mother to have no idea he was late, lest he'd have to come up with an explanation. He would never be able to explain what happened earlier. Never. No one would believe him.